can!
It's over!
He's done it again! Unbelievable!
Oh, straight into the roof of the net.
Nice one.
Straight down the middle. So a good performance.
Hi, you're watching Firstpost. I'm Rupha Ramani. Let's get the show started. On the show today, South Africa falter in a knockout once more. Their men's cricket team was routed by a confident and dominant New Zealand side in the semi-final clash at the Champions Trophy. But the headlines: South Africa's top scorer and the lone warrior in that run chase blaming the tight scheduling for the loss, saying that it was not ideal. Is that right though, and does that hold any truth? Former Pakistan coach Jason Gillespie has come out calling the current Pakistan head coach Aaqib Javed a clown. He has accused Javid of playing the biggest role in the instability that the system finds itself in currently. Find out more up ahead in the show. And India's Mohammed Shami once again targeted, this time by a Muslim leader who has called Shami a criminal for not fasting during India's Champions Trophy campaign. Why is Shami the constant fall guy after all he's done for the country on the global stage? But first, a look at the headlines on Sports 360. We'll start with football. Football's global governing body, the FIFA, has announced $1 billion prize pot for the Club World Cup to take place in 2025. While the body hasn't specified how the prize money will be distributed, there are claims it will be divided between 32 teams. In the Champions League, 10-man Barcelona beat Benfica 1-0 in the round of 16 first leg encounter. Barcelona's Pau Cubarsí was given a red card in the 22nd minute. Despite being one man down, Rafinha scored the goal to secure a win in the 61st minute of the game. In another match, Liverpool beat Paris Saint-Germain 1-0 in a thriller, while Harvey Elliott scored the only goal of the game. The star of the show was Liverpool goalkeeper Alisson Becker. The Brazilian saved 9 goals through the game. Liverpool will head into the second leg of the round of 16 with a 1-goal lead. In tennis, former world number 1 Naomi Osaka crashed out in the first round of the Indian Wells. Osaka lost 4-6, 4-6 to Colombia's Camila Osorio. Osaka was playing her first match since the Australian Open, a tournament where she had retired hurt. And America's Olympic Association has announced post-retirement benefits for Olympians and Paralympians after receiving a $100 million grant by philanthropist Ross Stevens. The athletes will now get at least $200,000 post their retirement. South Africa surely shed the tag of chokers last night at the ICC Champions Trophy semi-final because they surrendered to a very dominant display by New Zealand. They were knocked out after losing to New Zealand by 50 runs. David Miller, the lone warrior in that mammoth run chase. But that's not what the South Africa unit believes. They've put it to the flight travels between venues for not performing up to the mark. That they've blamed the tight scheduling by the ICC and the not-so-ideal travelling during the tournament for their fatigue. It's come from one man who stood tall for South Africa in the semi-final, Centurion David Miller, while the rest of the Proteas lineup crumbled in the 363-run chase. Miller's 67-ball 100 brought South Africa close. Had he gotten the support he required from the other end, maybe the result would have been different. But instead of addressing the team not punching hard to cross the line, Miller has questioned the ICC.
It's only an hour and 40-minute flight, but the fact that we had to do that was not ideal. It's early morning, it's after a game, and we had to fly. Then we got to Dubai at 4 p.m. And at 7:30 a.m. we had to come back. It doesn't make it nice. It was not an ideal situation.
He's referring to the flight both South Africa and Australia had to take because who would face India in the semi-final rather came down to the last match in the group stages. Something even the ICC, of course, couldn't have predicted when they drew up the schedule. So while it was unfortunate, that's how sport is. And ever since the tournament started, India has been accused of getting favoured treatment, given they are playing all their matches in a single venue in the UAE. But not once has anyone blamed this as the reason for their failure. And Miller didn't stop there. He even took a cheeky dig at India by saying he will be supporting New Zealand in the final, indicating that he isn't happy that all the teams had to travel. Well, all except India. But here's the question: the team they faced in the semi-final, New Zealand, too faced a similar situation. Plus, they got 1 day less than South Africa, who finished their group games earlier. New Zealand, in fact, played the last group game against India in Dubai on the 2nd of March, travelled to Pakistan for the semi-final against South Africa on the 5th of March, and yet were the better team on the day. And now they will once again travel to Dubai for the all-important final, after just coming back from there. Looks like all the travel didn't trouble them. And when you speak of the South African playing 11, you look at a bunch of super talented cricketers who travel through the year for cricket leagues. Many of these players play in leagues across the globe all round the year. Over the years, South Africa's current core, comprising of so many players like Emmanuel Macron and many others who form the core of the team, have represented leagues everywhere, whether it's David Miller, Heinrich Klaassen and many others. It's a typical league tournament that lasts for over a month. Any particular league, it typically lasts for over a month. And all of these players indulge in most of these. And you have an IPL is probably the only differentiator which is the most exhaustive, as it has the most number of teams playing, 10, that lasts for a couple of months. But from their batters to their bowlers, someone like Lungi Ngiri, Kagiso Rabada and many others right before, they've all opted for league cricket, which entails a lot of travel even during the tournament. That includes American Cricket League, MLC, Bangladesh Premier League, PPL, Pakistan Premier League, PSL, T20 League in the Caribbean Islands, CPL, all of this in addition to, of course, the IPL. Plus, South Africa has their own league, which is the SAT20. And of course, there's national duty. In fact, being a part of IPL seasons, I can tell you the travel during leagues for cricketers is grueling despite being a T20 affair. And it isn't just the multiple leagues these players feature in. A player playing in IPL travels right through India, a massive country. A flight between Bengaluru and India, two cities with IPL franchises, is typically 2.5 hours. Mumbai, Delhi, again, a little over 2 hours. Now, I can go on, but the point here is they will all be longer than what Miller and his teammates had to travel for, 1 hour and 40 minutes. Now, while I understand this situation was far from ideal, I want to ask, when has it ever been for current cricketers, especially with the kind of scheduling and the calendar that anyway exists all through the year? It's down to getting used to the conditions, the rigors, the sleight of hand, fortunes, and an evolving sport, and yet delivering. Like New Zealand did. Despite coming off a bruising against India, they recovered, bounced back, and how? This is one more opportunity that South Africa have missed, an opportunity at a shot at silverware. Both the women and the men came so close last year to doing that. But that's what South Africa as a cricketing unit needs to reflect and ask themselves. Did they live up to the tag that their talent possesses on the night, last night? Was it travel and fatigue and scheduling, or was it just that the New Zealand team were absolutely on the money and a far better unit on the day? Pakistan cricket's tryst with embarrassment just doesn't seem to end, from getting called out for their ICC Champions Trophy hiccups to getting trolled for their group stage exit from a tournament they hosted. But nothing comes close to their interim head coach Aaqib Javed being called a clown. And it hasn't come from a former cricketer or a rival team, but from somebody who was part of this very Pakistan setup not too long ago. Jason Gillespie, Pakistan's former test coach, was left fuming after Javid said this.
We have changed nearly 16 coaches and 26 selectors in the last 2 years or so. You put that formula on any team in the world. I think they will also be in the same situation. Until you get consistency right from the top down to the bottom, your team will not progress.
Well, that's surprisingly a fair point coming from Javid there. Constant changes only leads to more confusion and a state of flux. Not ideal to produce good cricket and keep a good environment going. He was only stating the obvious, highlighting the biggest problem that is haunting Pakistan cricket at the moment: the musical chairs that the PCB seems to be constantly orchestrating. What infuriated Gillespie was not what was being said, but who was saying it. The former Aussie pacer was wondering why Javid, who played a huge role in this very instability, is making such a remark. It comes from a personal place. Gillespie himself was one of those 16 coaches who was subjected to the zillion changes that Javid is referring to. The former Aussie pacer was appointed in April last year for a 2-year period, a time when Pakistan wanted a foreign perspective to shape the future of cricket in the country and bring back the glory days. The same period when 2011 World Cup winning coach Gary Kirsten too was roped in as the white ball head coach. But within 6 months, Kirsten was the first to run. He resigned from his position. From what I hear, the different camps and cliques in the dressing room was enough to drive him away. The cracks started appearing after the Pakistan Cricket Board stripped the coach from playing any part in team or squad selections. Kirsten resigned after constant disagreements with the Cricket Board, and 2 months later, Jason Gillespie followed him rather abruptly, despite the team actually winning a test series at home against England. Now think about it, even a win was not enough to keep Gillespie.
I was completely and utterly blindsided by a decision to not have a high-performance coach. I felt I was basically hitting catches, and that was about it on the morning of a game.
So after all this drama that Gillespie and Kirsten in their brief yet chaotic spell went through, when Javid made a statement about backing the management and saying he was against the very things that has been going on in the system, Gillespie couldn't hold back. What the former coach is now alleging is that it wasn't just the PCB top bosses who led to the dispute, but Aaqib Javed, who was consistently undermining Kirsten and Gillespie while they were at the helm. And that is what proved to be the tipping point. In simpler words, Javid sabotaged Pakistan cricket just so he could go on to become the head coach, and is now demanding to give everyone a longer rope. And the reason for that is simple. Following the ICC Champions Trophy disaster, the axe is hanging over Javid's head too. There were reports that PCB might sack Javid after the tournament, but he was retained for the New Zealand tour because there is no proper replacement that has come in just yet. Gillespie is enraged that the former batter is demanding a more stable management simply because he wants to hold on to his job now. You can't miss the irony here. While Javid is asking for a long rope, he's just sanctioned Pakistan's decision to drop Babar Azam and Mohammad Rizwan from the T20 squad. He lauded the idea of removing Rizwan and appointing Salman Ali Agha as captain instead, when Rizwan had only captained Pakistan for a few months and a handful of matches. Is this the definition of a long rope and stability in Javid's book? Or does that change according to what's more convenient? Because under Javid, Pakistan has now lost a tri-series at home, and there's been the Champions Trophy group stage disaster. At this point, it just looks like Javid is echoing what Pakistan cricket represents. Blame it on others to safeguard your job. Clearly, the problem lies within PCB. Are they running a cricket board or a clown show, is what Gillespie asks. India is gearing up for the all-important ICC Champions Trophy final, but instead of putting their full focus and heart on winning the trophy for the country, they are forced to deal with a lot of noise off the cricket field and completely unconnected with the sport. At the center of this is India's lead pacer Mohammed Shami. The controversy revolves around the Islamic holy month of Ramzan, a period where Muslim followers observe fasting, and it started earlier this month. The phase that the fasting takes place is technically from dawn to sunset. Now, a chunk of that time, of course, is when Shami is busy recovering, prepping, or playing the match. And because Shami is representing India at a major event like the Champions Trophy, maybe the pacer put a pause on fasting during match days, which is why during the semi-final, the cricketer was spotted having an energy drink during the match against Australia. And that, of course, went towards putting in a key performance for India. Shami took 3 wickets during that game, so spent that energy on trying to win India the match and get into the final. But while that was on, The president of All India Muslim Jamaat, Maulana Shahabuddin, criticized the cricketer, even calling him a criminal for not fasting even while playing for India.
हिंदुस्तान की एक मशहूर क्रिकेट शख्सियत मोहम्मद शमी साहब हैं। उन्होंने क्रिकेट के दरमियान पानी पिया या कुछ और चीज पी। तमाम लोग उनको देख रहे थे और इस दरमियान जब वो खेल रहे हैं तो इसका मतलब वो सेहतमंद हैं, तंदुरुस्त हैं, तवाना हैं। अब ऐसी कंडीशन में उन्होंने रोजा नहीं रखा और रोजा न रख करके फिर उन्होंने पानी भी पिया। दुनिया ने देखा उनको पानी पीते हुए, तो एक उनकी जरिए से एक गलत पैगाम अवाम में गया और रोजा न रख करके उन्होंने गुनाह का काम किया। तो उनको ऐसा नहीं करना चाहिए और वो शरीयत की नजर में वो मुजरिम हैं और गुनहगार हैं। खुदा के यहाँ उनको जवाबदेह होना पड़ेगा।
He not only called India's highest wicket taker in the tournament a criminal, but also questioned his religious beliefs. Now, I understand the significance of Ramzan and the importance of Roza, but that still remains a personal choice, doesn't it? And does not keeping Roza make him any less religious? Because this very same criminal was involved in a religious activity right before he participated in the ICC Champions Trophy. So after Shami was questioned for not fasting, it sparked a massive row. Fans to politicians and Shami's relatives, everybody rushed in to defend the Indian cricketer and slammed the Maulana.
देखिए, ये बंदे और अल्लाह के बीच का मामला है। इसमें मुल्ला को बोलने की जरूरत नहीं है, क्योंकि वो अपना राष्ट्र कर्तव्य निभाने के लिए गए हुए हैं और धर्म हमारा इसकी इजाजत देता है, क्योंकि हमारे दीन में जबरदस्ती नहीं है। और मुल्ला जी कह रहे हैं माफी मांगिए, आपने गुनाह किया है, तो गुनाह तो आपने किया है ये बोलकर, क्योंकि आपको बोलने का अधिकार नहीं था, आपको दीन के बारे में मालूमात नहीं है, तो इसलिए आपने जब ये बोला तो अब आपको माफी मांगना चाहिए पूरे देश से।
जी मुल्क के लिए खेल रहा है। पाकिस्तानी भी खिलाड़ी हैं, जिन्हें कितने खिलाड़ी हैं ऐसे बगैर रोजा रखे जो मैच खेलते हैं, कोई नई बात नहीं है। ऐसे लोगों को शर्म आनी चाहिए, ये बेहूदी बातें नहीं बोलनी चाहिए उन लोगों को। और मुल्क के लिए, खेलने वाले के लिए ऐसे बात बोलने के लिए बहुत बड़े शर्म की बात है कि ऐसे लोगों को ऐसी बातें नहीं बोलनी चाहिए।
And while Shami is getting all the support from different corners, a small set of fans have started questioning Shami's religious diligence, even comparing him to Hashim Amla, the devout, retired Muslim South African cricketer. Fans claim that despite Amla playing in the International Masters League now, he's fasting. Now, let's get a few things straight here. The Masters League is a T20 tournament. It's a far shorter duration of play that you spend on a cricket field. Two, and more importantly, that many seem to be missing, Shami is representing his country in an ICC tournament knockout stage. He's representing India, and in Bumrah's absence, he's leading the Indian pace attack. Amla, on the other hand, is playing club cricket currently, a league comprising of retired cricketers. And the biggest difference between the two is one is a pacer who does a lot of running around, much more. The other is a batter who can still function by hitting shots without running too many singles or twos. But we are nitpicking here. While Amla has often been hailed for being a devout practitioner, even he abstained from fasting a decade ago. This was while he was playing for South Africa in a test series against England. He put fasting on hold, and guess what he did during that test? Went on to score 311, the highest individual score by a South African in a single innings.
Because I'm traveling away from home, I don't have to fast. So I haven't been fasting, but I will make it up when I get home.
Amla gave this statement almost 12 years ago, but something similar was echoed by another member of the All India Muslim Personal Law Board.
It is compulsory for all the Muslims to observe Roza, especially in the month of Ramadan. And similarly, Allah has very clearly mentioned in the Quran that if someone is on a journey or is not well, he or she has the option not to observe Roza. And in the case of Mohammed Shami, you all know that he is on a tour. So he is on a journey, so he has the option that he might not observe Roza, and he is doing the same. So I and you are nobody to raise a finger against anyone, especially in such personal matters.
Shami doesn't need to defend his decision to not fast, doesn't need to justify his choice and how he goes about practicing his religion. So it isn't right for anyone to question Shami, his faith, or how he chooses to practice it. No matter the situation, no matter the tournament, it becomes convenient for sections of the country to target him. Whether it was a collective team losing an ODI World Cup back in 2023 or this instance today. Why is it so convenient to pin the blame on Shami, to target him, who has been giving his all for his country for decades now? Shouldn't that sentiment be respected and put above all else, instead of trying to start a fire where there is no need to? Time for last serve. Japanese baseball fans got to experience their very own superstar Shohei Ohtani. Major League Baseball organized an exorbitant exhibition of the LA Dodgers player in Japan. Take a look. That wraps it up here on Firstpost. I'll of course see you again tomorrow. Till then, do take care. Bye-bye.
Merci beaucoup. Hi, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Namaste, Mr. President.
Bharat Kelogan, Komeri Namaste.
How many people generally follow you in interviews?
Typically in a month, we have viewers up to 150 million. That's more than twice the population of France. And in the last 2 years, we had 3 billion viewers. So I say, Lohon, this is your chance to be famous. You're on Firstpost. One word to describe your equation with Prime Minister Modi.
Amitié.
As India and France work together, are you creating a new era of non-alignment in the technology space?
India is a training superpower. 1 million engineers a year, more than all of Europe and the US combined. So we have that partnership. We have a partnership on the environment and the economy. We also have civilian nuclear programs. And that is something we've developed far beyond the France-India relationship. So we want to work together on AI.
And then comes China with its DeepSeek, creating models at a fraction of the cost. Did that innovation take you by surprise? Did that breakthrough make you sit up and think, what did the Chinese do and how?
But what did DeepSeek do? They took everything that was already available from the last AI model and then they recalibrated it.
So are you going to ban Chinese AI in France?
So we don't have this American approach of banning tech because of where it comes from.